Morning, everyone. It's funny how somebody's thoughts and ideals can be summed up in a 3-paragraph bio, but everything's true. I do believe Nikola Tesla was a genius. He was definitely ahead of his time. He was considered by some to be crazy, but maybe that helped him be a genius. He had a very open mind, even by today's standards that are considered liberal. He once stated, "My brain is only a receiver in the universe. There is a core from which we obtain knowledge, strength, and inspiration. I've not penetrated into the secrets of this core, but I know that it exists." He was also ahead of his time that he believed that scientists didn't have to go the normal route when researching something. He believed that there were other conduits, and he proclaimed, "The day science begins to study non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in one decade than the previous centuries of its existence." So, yes, I do believe in aliens. I do believe in extraterrestrial life, not just out in outer space. I do believe that we have been visited both in the past and the present. I believe that they helped aid in the evolution of humankind, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes. Tesla did also believe that he received signals. He wrote a letter to the American Red Cross stating that he had received electrical actions from outer space, and he did vehemently believe that we are not alone, and so do I. There's actually a lot of people that believe in aliens, from Winston Churchill, John F. Kennedy. He was actually quoted reportedly in 1963, which is the year that he died, quote, "I'd like to tell the public about the alien situation, but my hands are tied." So I think that there might be something going on, and I don't know if maybe the government's not telling us because they're worried about a panic. Who knows? Hillary Clinton and Stephen Hawking also believe in extraterrestrial life, and some conspiracy theories say that's why Hillary Clinton wasn't elected, because she was going to demand that government documents regarding UFOs and extraterrestrial life be declassified. And some documents have, some CIA documents have been declassified, but a lot of material is blacked out due to redaction. And this leads me to my topic about what I'll be speaking about today, connectiveness, and how the belief that we are all connected, both with everything on this planet and everything in the universe. This is one of my core beliefs. Anybody that's heard me preside knows that I use the maxim, as above, so below, as within, so without, as the universe, so the soul. I believe in it so much that I have a tattoo of it. Hermes Trismegistus coined this phrase in the alchemic text, the Emerald Tablet, stating, "That is which is below corresponds to that which is above, and that which is above corresponds to that which is below, to accomplish the miracle of the one thing." Meaning whatever happens on any level of existence, physical, emotional, or mental, is also happening on every other level at the same time. We are the representation of God on earth, and God is the representation of humans in heaven. We all originated from the universe. Chemicals found in the stars can be found in every living organism on earth. Almost 99% of the mass of the human body is made up of 6 elements: oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, calcium, and phosphorus. Even though there's different variations present, everything on earth was cut from the same cloth. Carl Sagan stated, "The nitrogen in our DNA, the calcium in our teeth, the iron in our blood, the carbon in our apple pies. We are made from interiors of collapsing stars. We are all star stuff." From the universe we were born, delivered in a nanosecond of time, now termed the Big Bang. It was long believed that there is a medium that connects us all, this invisible medium. Aristotle, Greek philosopher, was actually the first one to try to discover it and find out its meaning. But even back then they believed in it, and they called it the universal ether. Tesla also believed that there was an ether. He called it luminiferous ether, and it was the late 1800s where he stated only the existence of a field of force can account for the motions of the bodies as observed, and its assumption dispenses with space curvature. I consider myself the original discoverer of this truth, which can be expressed by the statement, "There is no energy in matter other than that is received from the environment." My previous speech had all sorts of examples of that, but we're going to cut to the next section. So if you're interested in learning more about that, catch me after services. Energy connects us all. I'm big on energy, as you guys know. Everything in the universe has energy. Quantum physicists revealed that physical atoms are made up of vortices of energy that are constantly spinning and vibrating, each one radiating its own unique signature. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transformed. Albert Einstein, who I also find fascinating, was said to say, was quoted as saying, everything is energy and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want and you cannot help but get the reality. It can be no other way. I found that there's no evidence that Einstein said this. So when you see it on Facebook with the little block with his face and that expression, you can actually point out that upon research, I actually found out that it was a man called Darrell Anka that said that back in 1996. He is a channeler. He channels an extraterrestrial entity named Bashar. Bashar.org, I think, is the site. I'm not making this up. It just coincides that it's aliens. I'm telling you, aliens are everywhere. Aliens are not. So, we do know that Albert Einstein did coin the term unified field theory, or theory of everything. While attempting to prove the electromagnetism and gravity were different manifestations of a single fundamental field, his theory of relativity described everything on a macroscopic level, things that you can see with the naked eye. Quantum physics explains things on a microscopic level, things that you cannot see with the naked eye. However, the two theories were incompatible. Unconvinced that nature would prescribe totally different modes of behavior for phenomena that was simply scaled differently, Einstein sought a theory that would reconcile the two apparently contradictory theories that form the basis of modern physics. So right now, the closest that the scientists have agreed upon as the possible theory of everything is superstring theory and M theory. It's literally a counterpart. Superstring theory, sometimes called string theory, is fascinating. It has its basic premise in the belief that the four fundamental forces of nature and all matter are simply energy, and matter is thought to consist of tiny vibrating strings that exist in a multi-dimensional universe up to 26 dimensions. The extra dimensions are thought to be compactified or curled up, and they are in tiny pockets inside observable space. The particular vibrations of the strings within this multi-dimensional hyperspace are thought to correspond to particles that form the basis of everything in existence, all matter and all energy. So its later-day counterpart, M theory. M theory, the M in M theory means magic, mystery, matrix, or membrane, depending on the source. Basically, this is a new and improved superstring theory, and the scientists are trying to say that this is the unified field theory sought by Einstein. So basically, it's a simple equation that would reconcile incompatible aspects of this theory, of his theory of relativity, and quantum theory to explain the nature and behavior of all matter and energy. So Natalie Wolchover, she's the writer and editor of a magazine called Quanta Magazine, and she explains that M theory looks like each of the string theories in different physical contexts, but does not itself have limits on its regime of validity, a major requirement for the theory of everything. 5 years ago, this would have been science fiction, but physicists are at the point now, almost to certainty, that we do live in a multiverse. So you might want to check that out. There's other type of associations that connect us. Mental connections are one, and it's a big one. Consciousness is a huge topic, and we won't be going into that today, but I did read a simple definition that might help. It was like consciousness is the ability to be aware of our existence in the environment in which we live, of being awake and able to understand what's going on around you. Originating from the Latin word conscientia, it means knowledge within yourself. In other words, consciousness is the awareness of being aware of our consciousness.
Yeah, exactly.
It's easy, right? Panpsychism is a philosophical view that everything, no matter how small or inanimate, has a mind or a mind-like quality. Did you know trees can talk to each other? They do. And in a book by Peter Wallenberg called The Hidden Life of Trees, he's quoted as saying, "Some are calling it the wood wide web." All the trees here and in every forest that is not too damaged are connected to each other through underground fungal networks. Trees share water and nutrients through these networks and also use them to communicate. They send distress signals about drought and disease, for example, or insect attacks, and other trees alter their behavior when they receive these messages.
That is neat.
It's very neat.
Yeah.
And birds, of course, we've heard birds talk to each other with bird calls, and of course parrots talk back to us. They also have a heightened sense of communication, and they recognize their partners and their family members by their calls, not by their sight, similar to what a blind person would do. Carl Jung offers another way that we're connected when he stated that there's a part of the unconscious mind called the collective unconscious, that he propounded all mankind share patterns of memories, instincts, and experiences, and that the collective unconscious exerts overwhelming influence on the minds of the individuals. So this is likened to the Akashic Records. The Akashic Records have also been called the universal computer or the mind of God. And it is a energetically non-physical plane of existence, or astral plane, and it records every thought, action, or word spoken. Their records are continually updated and contain the energetic prints about the journey of every soul through its lifetimes, connecting each of us in the process with every human that has ever lived, and even those that haven't been born yet. Art, music, and common interests connect us. We're here today because we have a love of metaphysics. I feel like I'm one with most of you because you believe in my dogma that we are connected and that it's in every one of us. Interestingly, when I was typing this up, I looked in the book to make sure that I had the title correct, and I opened right up to it. Also, when I was typing about the Akashic Records, my computer is separate from the TV in the living room, so I had gotten up to go to the kitchen to get a drink or something, and I heard Astral Plane right when I was typing it up. It's from Ghost Adventurers, another show I like about ghosts. So that was cool, and then later on when I was proofreading it, again I went to the kitchen, and on the TV it said, "You are connected to the football station, turn into, whatever." So it was a football station, but rock on, right? That is so cool. You walk in and you hear, "You are connected." Even our newsletter, the theme was spiritual opinion, spiritual oneness. So all of these are synchronicities I try to pay attention to, even if they're little and non-consequential. I believe that this is the way the universe communicates with us. Conversely, religious beliefs and ideology also link humanity together. Besides all the hundreds of religions today, from Catholicism to Scientology to other secular pursuits, we all have a basic need to be part of something that we can have faith in. Our connectedness doesn't stem from the mental plane only. All right, so this is cool. So they have found, kind of a tongue-in-cheek name, they have found a woman that is proven to be everybody's mother. She was the very source of everybody on the earth today. And they call her mitochondrial Eve. Mitochondrial is from DNA, and that's how they discovered her. Scientists had 147 people that they took blood from and tested their DNA, and 147 people were supposed to represent all of the different major racial groups. And it was found that there's 2 limbs on our family tree. There is the African lineage, which is just African lineage, and then there's the other side, which is everybody else with a little bit of African lineage in it. So what they found is this woman, most likely, she lived in Africa, most likely in Kenya or Ethiopia, and it was around 150 to 200,000 years ago. Now don't be confused. I'm not saying this was the first woman. Unlike her biblical counterpart, there were other species at the time living, and there were other women. What they found is, the reason why they know that this one woman is the mother of all of us, we know this because analysis of variation in living humans, plus the mutation rate in mitochondrial DNA, which is the mitochondrials inside the cell. So it's the real deep DNA. Permits us to calculate when the ancestor of all living mitochondrial DNA chromosomes was alive. Prior to Eve, there were actually still many females living, but all of those lines, other than Eve's own direct ancestor, have died out. Some will have died out 100, some thousands, some tens of thousand years. Remember, for the lineage to survive today, a female must have a fertile daughter, who in turn has a daughter over 8,000 generations. And it's been proven. All right, so now that we know that we live in a multiverse and we have different dimensions, I'm telling you, it was aliens. Someone had to be the father.
Yeah.
That's my thought. Okay, so another strong connection that we have is online. In this day and age, everybody except my husband and maybe like 100 people that don't have electricity are online. Bless his heart, he texts. So I'm okay with that. We look at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We read everybody's post. We text and use email. Many people have found love online thanks to sites like eHarmony and Match.com, not to mention Tinder, which is a whole different way that people connect that we're not going to talk about. So, AlleyDog.com is a website that is used for psychology students, and they have found that connectiveness is a recently coined word, either personally or that refers to the quality and quantity of a person's connection to others, either personally or online. And basically it's saying that some people that are too shy to maybe go out to a bar or wherever you meet people nowadays, I don't know, I've been married forever, so I don't even know where you go. They go online. Or they reach out and they have these interpersonal connections that maybe they wouldn't have had otherwise. So, I've lost my last page. That is not good.
Very interesting.
Very interesting, especially considering I can't find my last
Very
page.
interesting.
But that's okay. I had the original one, which was a book. Still good, a lot of good stuff, but yeah, it was definitely too long. Okay, so I think I am closing. Yep, human beings, okay. All right, so in closing, the reason why I point out all of this stuff is because with our busy lives, I think that sometimes we forget that we are all connected. We're connected to the person sitting next to us, to the squirrel on the ledge, to the stars in the sky.
Yeah.
Everything comes from the one source. And I have another tattoo that is my interpretation of be the love you seek. I learned that phrase in the University of Metaphysical Sciences, and basically we've all heard variations of it. Do good, be good, basically. I have this tattoo to remind myself and other people that look at it. It's written in Zaibu, which is an angelic language, and lots of flowers. I'm sure you guys have seen it. To remind us to be kind to others. Be the love you seek. Reach out and help somebody. Don't judge them if they're standing on the corner and they want your change. Give them the 52 cents in your pocket. Don't worry if they're going to go buy beer with it. Maybe they need beer. They're having a hard time. They wouldn't be out there. Do something nice. Smile at someone having a bad day. Do something kind for someone you don't know, and realize that every small act of kindness that we do will brighten somebody's outlook and will come back to us thricefold. Don't do it for accolades or attention or any reward, but just do it for the joy that you receive purely by the act. And remember, you are the you in the universe. Thank you for listening. Namaste.